gmail.com. And as ever, this is going out on the awesome SLE Radio. Now, the first artist that we're going to listen to today is a bit of a mystery. Well, not a full mystery. I do know the singer of this particular group, which is called Spire. The incomparable Dr. Void, aka Void Stare, is the singer of the group, and yes, you are going to be listening to a blast of awesome black metal with some ambient overtones or undertones, whichever ones they are. I've always been a bit partial to black metal. I flirt with it in my own music as well. If you listen to some of the recent Dark Matter Will Flow songs like Zombie Army, you will hear elements of that creeping in. And so I thought, of course, since he was amenable to having his music played on this show, then what better way to kick off this beautiful, beautiful day than with some darkened, ambient black metal. This is the Jeff Vicario Show on SLE Radio. Next, Spire. And now I'm gonna have to cheat and check out the song title because I have forgotten which one it is. Just a second. Well, what do you know? The song is called Void. That was Aspire with the song Void. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that is just prime lullaby material. The first time I listened to that song, and indeed the whole album, was earlier in the year, where I was taking a nap and thought, well, what am I going to listen to sort of soothe my slightly anxious mind? And I thought, well, Aspire, let's put this on. And I have a weird brain in the sense that that kind of sort of majestic and awesome black metal, just I find it incredibly soothing. But yeah, let's get to the song. Actually, I mean, just from when the song kicks in and you hear that classic sort of lawn sprinkler drum beat, and then the vocals kick in. I mean, some of the most brutal and beautiful and varied and awesome singing anywhere ever, not just in black metal, but in music in general. That there's just one guy doing all of that is mind-bending. I don't know. I know they played live, so whether they and how they pull all that off in a live setting, that would be interesting to witness. But being from Australia, I have no no expectations of ever really seeing them. Well, you never know. But that's just like, it's not symphonic black metal, but it does sound like a symphony, doesn't it? I mean, some of the chordal movements towards the end of it, they're so majestic and sort of like, that song sort of oozes, not just sort of malevolence, you know, it has some of that same brutal effectiveness that you get from the likes of Behemoth, but to me that is just so far and above that particular band. I like Behemoth, let's, you know, that goes without saying, but to me that is by far, I mean, I know this is a 4-year-old record, it's from 2016, but it's still like, I only recently heard it. To me, this is like my favorite black metal album of, I don't know, in 10 years or whatever. So yeah, great song, great arrangement. The songwriter of this band is a total genius. I wish I knew his name so I could give him a shout out. But yes, do check out Spire. You can find them on Spotify. And also, just major props to Dr. Void, Mr. Void Stare, who does the vocals on that one. You are amazing. And you know what? You are all listening to the Jeff Vicario Show on SLE Radio. Next up, we have an artist from France. They're called Vitelloni Crew. I was actually introduced to them during the making of Terror Prime, the 21 artist synthwave collab that came out some time ago, and that I actually played on the previous show. I heard their record on YouTube and was very much impressed by it. So when the email showed up in my mailbox with the submission to be played on this show, it was kind of a no-brainer. So, yeah, let's have a listen to it. The song is called Envie d'ailleurs. That was Vitelloni Crew with Envie d'ailleurs. What an amazing song there. Not at all conventional stuff there. They describe themselves as trip hop, electro. I didn't hear a whole lot of trip hop there. Well, then I'm no expert in like genre definitions. So well, never mind that. It kicks off with this incredible sort of rhythm that has groove, but it's still also kind of angular. And I love their sort of melodic, almost sort of playful approach to melody and the intricacy of the sort of marimba-like clusters of melody. It's almost Frank Zappa-esque, and that's always a good thing in my book. It's so dynamic too, and you get this sort of feeling that it's, well, like all my favorite music is timeless in a sense that you don't really spend any time while you're listening to it. You don't spend any time wondering when this is gonna end or how long has it taken. I mean, I have no concept of whether that lasted for 3 minutes or 7 minutes, really. It's probably somewhere in between, but that was a really great song. The whole album that I heard from them is of similar caliber. I don't I seem to remember them asking in a chat on Twitter where I was also taking part of, like, asking for advice regarding their sound or production or something. And actually that's how I listened to them for the first time, and I was like, what? You're asking for advice? This is perfect to me, to my ears. I wouldn't change a thing. But then again, I'm not well versed in the fine mysterious art of mixing and, you know, EQing and things like that. I have zero like understanding of any of that stuff. But getting back to the point, that was a very beautiful composition from Vitelloni Crew. Well done, and I hope to hear more from you in the future. And everybody do check them out on YouTube and elsewhere if they happen to be elsewhere. I admit I'm not sure. But this is still the Chef Vicario Show on SLE Radio. This next artist that we're going to listen to, in case you haven't heard this already, then you're in for a treat, and quite possibly something that you've never heard in your life before. The combination of the old and the new, and by his own description, combining ancient with modern to create a serene yet pummeling sound. We're talking about Gregorian rock. The man behind Gregorian rock actually slid into my DMs on Twitter asking, just out of nowhere, that whether I was somebody that he'd had a conversation with, and it turned out that I was not that person that he was looking for. But it turned out, but he I don't know, one thing led into another, and I actually invited him to submit music to my show, because I ended up just really enjoying what he was doing, because he sent me a link to one of his songs, and it was, well, it has to be heard to be believed. It's really something to hear classic sort of church style singing mixed with incredibly well played sort of prog influenced music with Chapman sticks and all those things that make prog such a great and style of music, and such a guilty pleasure, you know, music for musicians, as they sometimes say. But this stuff stands on its own, 2 feet squarely, and also has its head pleasantly in the clouds, as you know, only progressive music can sometimes be. But enough with the words. Let's listen to the song. This is Gregorian rock, and the song is called Wisdom. Well, that brought back some memories from childhood. My father used to sing in church choir, despite not being terribly religious, but he sang in I think it was like a Russian Orthodox choir called Salvo over here in Helsinki. And while not, Gregorian in style, but I've been exposed to that type of sort of, singing from a very young age. So it's kind of neat hearing it in that kind of context. And I think his own description of his music is very fitting, serene yet pummeling I would definitely recommend you check out the album Fire that came out in 2017, which has more of that same goodness, twists and turns, the kind of stuff that you expect from modern progressive rock. But then some songs have an even more sort of the Gregorian vocals are featured more heavily in some of the other songs. Here, they're kind of more just as they just sort of add color to the overall proceedings. So definitely check out the song Consuming Fire, which was the first one that I heard. That is also very much worth your time. But yes, that was Gregorian rock with a song called Wisdom. And as ever, this is the Jeff Vicario Show on SLE Radio. Now, part of the deal when I was accepted by SLE Radio to host the show was that in every episode I have to please my Welsh overlords. So it's mandatory that I always play a song by a Welsh artist on the show. I'm just kidding, obviously. There's no caveat like that. The next artist that I'm going to play you is called Vapor Chain. Again, among the first new artists that that sort of swam into my view on Twitter when I dove into the indie music community over there. They had just released their debut album, Neon Teeth, and listening to it was one of those mind-bending experiences. Like, where does this kind of music come from? What kind of a mind or minds, create music like this? I was very much enamored by it, and let's listen to my favorite song off the record. It's called Never Saw It Coming, and then talk a little bit more about it. This is Vapor Chain. Vapor Chain and Never Saw It Coming. That song has some of the most beautiful singing I've ever heard by anyone. The tone of voice, phrasing, pitch control, all those technical things that are important, they're all in place, but that's there's this sort of sense of like tension that is never quite released. I remember I was kind of taken aback when I first heard this song, because the singing was such it's also in the mix, because it kind of comes in on the left side, and you're like, I wasn't expecting that. And then there's this tension there that just keeps the singer just manages to never really release it, and I think that's such a great little. It's not a little thing. I mean, it's a great sort of feat for a singer. And overall, that song, when I listen to the whole album, but that song in particular, I'm kind of reminded of the great Depeche Mode album that never was, which is Exciter from 2001. I remember I'm a big Depeche Mode fan, and I had high hopes for that one, because I remember when having been a big fan of Ultra, they released that single called Only When I Lose Myself, which I thought, this is really good, I hope they go in this direction. And they end up taking a slight detour into full electro and slightly too boring songs. But to me, this song on this album is a tantalizing glimpse. To me, this is almost what that record could have been like. You know, a combination of this sort of, at the same time, huge ambient soundscape, yet this sort of intimate singing, songwriting style. That combination to me is just magnificent. I never get tired of the album, but this song in particular, since, you know, I'm not ashamed to admit that I asked them whether I could play it. They didn't even submit it to me, but, you know, it just felt like, of course, it's my show, of course I'm going to play some of my favorites on there as well. They describe themselves as breaking beats and making waves. I think that's a pretty apt description. Just, I don't know. I think I've said all that I can say about that song. You should go out and, well, not out, you know, nobody needs to go out, and especially in this day and age of COVID-19, don't go out, go online, go to Bandcamp, buy the album there, go to Spotify, listen to it. The artist is called Vapor Chain, and the album is called Neon Teeth, and that song was called Never Saw It Coming. And you know what? For some reason, this broadcast is not flowing terribly well. I'm having difficulty maintaining my breathing, actually. This is surprisingly difficult. But I'm gonna just plow ahead and hope for the best and try to make it through to the end of the recording. This is one of those days. And you're listening to Jeff Vicario on the Jeff Vicario Show on SLE Radio. Okay, Jeff, get a grip. Next up, let's up the energy a notch. If Vapor Chain's energy was of that slow burn type, you know, intensity, this next one is just all over the place punk. Kick him in the teeth, kick him in the crotch type of vibe. And it's also a 2-for-1 type deal. We're talking about, of course, on this side of Anarchy. I think these songs are from his latest EP. And like I said, I'm going to play 2 of them since this is punk and they're short songs. So I figured, what the hell? Let's throw a couple out there for the price of one. The first song is called Give Me Some, and the second one is called Bacon Time. And anybody out there that knows this side of Anarchy and Dennis, the main man behind that one-man punk explosion, you know what to expect. You will not be disappointed. This side of Anarchy.
So hard every day, working for little pay. I work so hard that I get a raise, but what does Uncle Sam say? The more you make, the more I take. You make more money, give me some. The government sucks the life out of everything. Federal, state, and every city. All they do is take from everyone. They say what they always say. You make more money, give me some. Give me some, give me some. I made more money so I could survive. It's a wonder that I'm still alive. I was hoping to get a break, but all I do is suffocate. And now I'm so irate because I gave it all to the state. The government sucks the life out of everything. Federal, state, and every city. All they do is take from everyone. They say what they always say. You make more money. Give me some. Give me some. Give me some.
Well, yeah, you get a song about the redistribution of wealth, followed by a classic punk hard rock topic of breakfast. That kind of brought to mind the last song. I think, was it a Discharge song or whichever that Anthrax covered on Attack of the Killer Bees called Milk. It's kind of similar. Also, major props for that little bit of the drum intro to Led Zeppelin's Good Times, Bad Times. I live for that kind of stuff in music. I love it when you add that little detail into a fucking oops, sorry, I swore. You can bleep it. Into a punk rock song. That was I love that. The first song was great too. Obviously, listening to it as a government civil servant over here in Finland is like, yeah, the government makes a mess of everything. Guilty as charged, but I think we can all be friends here. That was Dennis and his one-man punk explosion called This Side of Anarchy. I have to. I just noticed I was checking out his Twitter while the song was playing, and he has a quote. He has some Twitter fan quotes about his previous single called 12 Years. And there's this quote that reads, "Hits you over the head with a blast of irresistible punk energy, and the world is a better place for it," which I recognized that he actually used in his submission email to me. And I was like, well, that sounds familiar. And then I realized that's actually something I said about it on Twitter. So, what comes around goes around. But yeah, I love This Side of Anarchy, and there needs to be more punk in this world, just as this world needs more brutal black metal, all these different things. It's a different energy, it's a different vibe, but it all sort of works for the greater good, I think. While I'm not on the subject, if you want your music played on the Jeff Vicario show, send me an email with an MP3 or WAV file of a song or 2 songs or 3 songs or however many songs you want to send me, or a link to a cloud service of your choice. And a couple of lines of introductory bio, which I can then forget to read on the air, but I do read them when I go over the emails, just so I know a little bit about the artist that I'm gonna play. And this is still such a chore getting this done. I don't know what's wrong with me today, but onwards and upwards, or downwards and wherever. Let's move on to the next artist. And they're called either Mule or Mule, not quite sure. This is an Australian artist specializing in weird, long, lengthy flights of imagination, full electro, mind-bending journey into the wherever sphere. Yeah, that's a nice word. The song that I'm gonna play is called Yggdrasil Fall. And without further ado, this is Mule or Mule and Yggdrasil Fall. That was Mule or Mule with Yggdrasil Fall. Now, that was some hypnotic drum and bass there, and then some. I'm going to read you a couple of quotes. These are from the artist's Bandcamp page, actually, of describing that particular song. First of all, he says that song is the most me song he's ever written. And I love this one. He says, Yggdrasil Fall is not just an expression of myself, but also of the entropy that happens in nature. That life is ephemeral and we need to make the most of it. That gives you a glimpse of the kind of depth that we're dealing with here with this Australian artist from Perth, Australia. I would definitely recommend that you go and check out this guy's Bandcamp page. Especially read the track descriptions there, but be careful because when you venture in, that's quite a. You're going to be spending a lot of time reading that stuff. I love his style of music, but probably even more than that, I love his sort of total commitment to his art. He mentions there that he's written like over 100 songs, and he's now putting them out one by one. And his is like the complete package, from the music down to the artwork that he, designs himself. And I don't know, it's just great to hear and be introduced to an artist that is such a how do you describe it? It's like a force of nature, really. The words leap off the page when you read his description of his music, and when you listen to it. The sort of hectic energy that drum and bass, perfectly encapsulates anyway, but it kind of comes across. It's this joie de vivre, as they say in France. That's that kind of puts a smile on your face, and you don't even know why. So that was Mule with Yggdrasil Fall. Worth your time and everybody else's. But like I said, venture into his Bandcamp, but be prepared to spend a lot of time there. This is the Jeff Vicario Show on SLE Radio. And just a reminder that if you want your music played on this show, and don't mind me talking about it before and after, send your submissions along with a couple of lines of bio to jeffvicarioshow@gmail.com. And since we're already in Australia, let's stay in Australia. The next artist that we're going to listen to is actually Void Stare. Now, you may ask, why on earth am I playing Void Stare? I already talked about him on the show because Dr. Void, as I call him, is also the singer of Spire. Well, the answer is because I can. Void Stare is another artist that swam into my view, or swam into my DMs on Twitter earlier in the year when his album came out. And the album is called 01, by the way. And I was just... You get a lot of those DMs on Twitter sometimes. But this time I was kind of intrigued by his profile pic. If not anything else, I thought, well, who's this wizard then? And kind of wanted to explore a little. And I played the record, and I listened to it from start to finish, and thought, this man is crazy, and crazy good. I also remember I immediately sent it to my bandmate Joe, who does Limbo Cast and works with me in Black Distortion and Dark Matter Will Flow and Nola Gay and all manner of other projects, seemingly. Oh, my Canadian brother. And he was like, oh, this is crazy good. And long story short, we ended up actually collaborating on a song. And I guess this is a bit of a tease to everybody out there that you're going to be hearing something completely different from Dr. Void and myself. in the near future, hopefully. But I get ahead of myself, as I tend to sometimes do. This song is from Void Stare, and it is called Crusader, Perfect Heresy Machine. Well, that to me is the definition of perfect dark wave. Void Stare with Crusader, perfect heresy machine. Now, the man behind Void Stare, the good doctor, is a self-taught musician. If I remember correctly, he mainly was a singer in the black metal band Spire. And then at some point he thought, well, I'd like to make music myself. So he started working on Void Stare, or what ended up being Void Stare, as I understand it, from the ground up, just teaching himself to do everything. He had no formal musical training, as I understand, and he just figured, well, I want to do this, so I'm going to do this. And that shows some serious dedication, because he hasn't been at it for that long, really. I think 01 is his first record. And the attention to detail and all of the different elements that he brings to the table is just amazing. I think he's unique and totally in a class of his own. I was especially taken by the midsection where the ambience is, it's like Pink Floyd level awesome. And then when the throat singing, which I guess I forgot to give props for on the Spire track, when that makes an appearance, it's like, that's something else. I love the fact that he brought that style of vocal style from his other musical endeavor into this project as well, because it gives this music a completely sort of almost like a malevolent edge, which, that's what you want from darkwave. But on the other hand, the synths, the sort of melodic sort of playfulness that's apparent on the latter half of the song, it kind of gives it a different twist again. So, like all good music, this song is a total journey from start to finish. No repeat sections. That's another thing that I really like about his style of music and music in general, where you don't just do verse, chorus. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's how I write most of the time, so that's perfectly fine. But it's great to hear this style of more sort of adventurous songwriting, and done so incredibly well. Yes, that was Void Stare. What else is there to say about that, except that, go listen to it on your streaming platform of choice. And yes, let's move on to the next song, shall we? This is the Jeff Vicario Show on SLE Radio. Let's move on to the next artist and the next country. We're going back to the UK now for some synth pop by a band called Cat Bear. Now, I've been kicking myself for not thinking of doing a cat theme show, because I have lined up some music from Still Life with Cat and Cat Temper for a later episode. I should definitely have, put, all three in the same broadcast, but, well, that's too late. Anyway, I digress. Cat Bear, a synth-pop indie girl band from London. They describe themselves as powered by neon and buttoned-up shirts. And their new single is called Love and War, and that's the song that we're gonna listen to right now. Cat Bear, Love and War.
From the start, you sparkled like a diamond, but I bruised your pride and you envied mine. Essentially, you and me would never be worth a long shot. Essentially, you and me would never be worth a loss. We've been through the wars, you and me, but that's such a cruel
what a song there from Cat Bear, Love and War. Well, first of all, let's dispense with the waffle and say that that song is a total hit. It's such a hit single that, it's ridiculous. With this style of music, synth pop, you gotta, I was listening to it the first time. I thought, this kind of music, it needs to have pristine and brilliant vocal performances, and they deliver. The two amazing artists behind this group are called Zoe Konez and Sarah Smith, best friends who've been making music to feel empowered and emboldened, and are inspiring other women to make music along the way. And I am fully behind that sentiment. I've been working myself with some amazing ladies as producers recently, the likes of Plike and Safira V. I'm sorry, and it's just great to kind of be a part of, to be living in this era where all kinds of boundaries between, whether they're gender-based or whatever, they're just like totally unnecessary. It's all about making music, creating art, being, part of a community, and doing things that sort of contribute something positive to the world. And that song is such a brilliant, blast of positivity and great songwriting. And I adore those vocals. That singing is so good, so perfect for the song. The production is, I wouldn't change anything about that. I can't think of a single sort of thing that to criticize about that. And I know this show is not exactly known for being overly critical, but that's my credo. If you allow me to digress a little bit, I am fully of the opinion that constructive criticism is a plague. You're not going to get that from this show. So if you want somebody to rip your music to shreds and complain about the EQ of that, or the whatever it is that techie-minded people complain about in music, you're not going to get it from me. Go someplace else to be bitched at. I'm not going to do that. Oh, well, okay, digression over. That was a great song from Cat Bear. I'm going to be looking out for whatever they decide to put out next. I am fully committed to being a Cat Bear fan for life. And moving on to the next song. Next up, we have an intriguingly named artist. And I have to be very careful when I pronounce this name because it has an abundance of P's. It's called Pillow Peas. I have such a terrible microphone that those P's always produce peaks. Anyway, Pillow Peas. I got an email from him saying, let me read it out to you. Hi, Jeff. Here's some music from Sweden. Hope you like it. That was the description. I thought, well, I'm gonna like it, Let's listen to this song. It's called 7 Days, and it's by Pillow Peas from Sweden. Now, if you weren't absolutely blown away and amazed by that piece of music, then I don't know what's wrong with you. That was Pillow Piece with 7 Days. Pillow Piece is the man behind that. Artist name is called Pelle Jakobsson from Sweden. And I think we were in the presence of some kind of a genius. Pelle has a background in classical music, and I think that definitely comes across in the way that, that kind of a composition. It was not so much. I wouldn't like call that your typical pop song. It was so dynamic, powerful, so incredibly well thought out and detailed, and you can tell that this is a musician who's and songwriter who's used to dealing with some rather intricate material. What's there to say? I love the way it starts with a very, that guitar arpeggio, and you can kind of going, oh, is this going to be like a singer-songwriter type thing? And then you get this sort of ethereal piano, and then strings, and then you're kind of like, oh, okay, now we're going to uncharted territory. Nothing is going to be as it seems with this one. And then the singing comes in, just this absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, layered vocal thing, and leaves you breathless when you listen to it. I mean, you have to just go back and listen to that over and over again to get the full experience of it. I've now heard it twice, and I still felt like, definitely on this second listen, I was like, okay, I'm hearing things that I didn't pay attention to on first listen. I'm actually starting to feel pretty good now doing this show. That song really was a real pick me up for me. That was so good. I mean, I applaud you, Pelle Jakobsson. That you are some kind of a genius, really. I don't throw this word around easily. You're the second person I've called that now after Jeremiah from the Hikikomori Pact. I've said this before, but in a perfect world, that song and that artist would deserve to be so widely recognized that, it would be all over the place. Unfortunately, we don't live in that kind of world, but I'm very proud and very happy to have been able to share it with, whoever happens to be listening to this. And I predict great things for Pillow Piece. I genuinely do. Let's move on. This is the Jeff Vicario Show on SLE Radio. We've come to the last song of the show. This is the Jeff Vicario Show on SLE Radio. How'd you like my deep voice? Okay, I'm surprised I made it this far. Good music though. This one had a really nice and eclectic mix. That's the way I like it. Even if I do say so myself, and I did pick those songs myself. And this is a really pointless diversion once again. The last song, or actually two songs we're gonna hear, are from a Canadian band called Predatory Lenders. The songs that I'm going to be playing are called Missing Man and The Goal. Let's listen to them back to back and then come back for some final words. For some, hopefully, sentences. This is Jeff, very confused Vicario. And you're going to hear some music from Canada, Predatory Lenders.
Lost was polite enough to shake my hand. We found the missing man when he came to see our band. We found the missing man, got lost in a far-off land. Didn't tell his friends or foes, show signs when they last spoke. When we found that missing man, he was polite enough to shake my hand. Oh, I could light up your smoke or kick you in the teeth. Is it right for a man to have such duality? Oh, I sure don't know, 'cause it's not up to me. I'm sorry about your smoke, but you sure got some nice teeth. Oh, we dance us in the glow of the almighty gold. I stole words from old lovers that I used to know. Now I could count all the favors my friends owe to me. Said I'll hide away from neighbors who I owe sugar and tea. Is it so wrong? It's not up to me. I think they're gone. I owe them 3. Dance for us in the glow of the almighty gold. I stole words from old lovers that I used to know. I just don't know. Shot down a man on a beach in Algiers, but they convicted me because I shed no tears for those I love. Say and leave, je pense beaucoup. Some other words in French. Dance for us in the glow of the almighty gold. I stole words from old lovers that I used to know. Dance for us in the glow of the almighty gold. I stole words from old lovers that I used to know. I just don't know.
That was a very cool ending to this third Jeff Vicario show. You know, we just heard that was like the two sides of Predatory Lenders. I suspect there are many more, but yeah, that was a nice contrast between the two songs. The first one I just adored, that sort of insistent bass riff with the drum beat, and then there's this super echoey guitar creating like a wind sound over it. That shows a delightful sort of disregard for convention, which is something that it's a nice little touch. You know, why should I play guitar like everybody else plays guitar? I have this echo and I'm gonna use it, and or whatever it was. Maybe it was a synth, but I suspect it was a guitar. I liked that, and the second song was like classic Kinks almost. Really nice. I like that sort of slightly jumpy feel of the rhythm. Great melody. Man, I'd love to see these guys live. But, it's a long way to Calgary, Canada. But yeah, one can wish, I guess. Or hope. Kiss. Now, kiss, that's a weird word. It doesn't mean anything. I was supposed to say guess. This is by far the worst episode so far, but that's not because of the music. That's just me. Maybe it's because I'm not in my closet. I'm out of my comfort zone, staring at this statue of Buddha. He seems serene and calm, but then he's made of wood, so, he would be. That was Predatory Lenders. The two songs we heard were called... Missing Man, not Moving Man. Missing Man and The Goal. Great, guys. I loved hearing that. Thanks for sending that music to me that I could play it. On a final note, again, massive thanks to everybody who sent me their songs and the people that I approached who agreed for me to play them. Without music, there's no show. And keep those submissions coming, and do say yes when I approach you. I appreciate that. Well, obviously you don't have to. I'm Jeff Vicario. You're not, and that's probably a good thing. You can reach me at jeffvicarioshow.at. Let me start over. You can reach me at jeffvicarioshow@gmail.com, or on Twitter. You will find me as Jeff Vicario with the Fox logo. I guess that's it. Bye now. This is SLE Radio.